Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest from the live radar from the UKV, have a look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days, as we actually have a decent weekend at the moment with temperatures up into the mid to maybe even high teens locally and plenty of sunshine where we do avoid the convective showers. However, things for Monday have deteriorated quite significantly overnight, and it now is looking like we're going to be seeing quite a lot of rain across parts of England and Wales. As we have seen over the past few days, it's been touch and go whether low pressure has pushed up from the south. For Monday, it is now looking pretty likely. So Monday, some would argue, is looking like a bit of a write-off, and that sort of pattern is going to continue into next week, and it is going to stay very unsettled, with this weekend being a brief respite in a very unsettled period. We could even see some stormy weather, as we saw in yesterday's video, into next week. Some pretty decent lows developing, some pretty deep lows with some strong centres. And of course, with tight isopaths means those winds could get very strong at times. The one positive, as we have seen, and it is very apparent on the longer range charts, is the wind direction does generally look a west to southwesterly. So we are likely to see milder temperatures. And of course, it does open up the possibilities that if we did see a dry few days like we're seeing at the moment, those temperatures could rise quite significantly because of average to above average upper air temperatures, which is one positive in an overall pretty dire long-term outlook. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, much do like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well. The link's in the description. Now, if you start on the live radar, you can see we do have a smattering of showers around at the moment across parts of Wales, Republic of Ireland, Northern Ireland and Northern Scotland. But actually, for most, it's not too bad. It's a pretty decent day, plenty of sunshine, and those temperatures are responding. Remember, we're at the end of March now, heading into early April. It really is only about 10 or 11 weeks away from peak sun strength, so it does allow those temperatures to really rise when we do see full blue skies. So that's why temperatures today are rising quite considerably, and I must say it is feeling a lot warmer today than I had initially anticipated. Feels like a bit of a late spring, early summer, but of course, as I said, it is a little bit of a blip in this overall unsettled pattern. Now, according to this in the mid-afternoon, you can see those temperatures, pretty thick yellows developing today, indicating temperatures well into the mid-teens, maybe even locally into the upper teens. Of course, where we see showers further northwards and westwards and over the higher ground of Scotland, it is inevitably a little bit cooler, but generally a pretty pleasant Saturday in this long bank holiday weekend. Now, if you just drop over to net weather, we can actually see some of the maximum temperatures. This doesn't encapsulate every weather station, but it does cross a lot of them up and down the country, and you can see widely up to sort of 14 to 16 degrees today, and this is sort of 1 to 3 p.m. observations. Maybe 4 p.m. we could reach slightly higher, we'll have to see, but you can see widely mid-teens, locally getting up towards that 16 degree range, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a 17 or locally 18 degrees somewhere when all things are said and done later this evening. And if you do go over to the latest UKV, you can see these conditions do replicate themselves tomorrow before it goes downhill into Monday. And you can see the UKV showing a little bit more extensive showers than we're seeing at the moment, especially further eastwards, but perhaps less, but in reality, it's slightly more extensive further northwards. So very good day across much of England and Wales, slightly worse further westwards and northwards. Into tomorrow, those showers do dissipate away, and we do see a large area of rain move into southwest England and southern parts of the Republic of Ireland through Sunday morning. And into Easter, you can see there is a little bit of rain moving into the east, perhaps a bit of persistent rain into East Anglia, but for most it's another dry day, maybe less sunshine, but it's still fairly pleasant. However, overnight we start to see this low developing in the southeast corner, and it really pushes in through the latter part of Sunday evening and dominates through Monday morning, and it is going to give a pretty horrible Monday with lots of rain, especially through the morning, before slowly petering out but not moving much away, giving lots of drizzle and thick cloud into Monday afternoon for the first day of April. Now into Tuesday, we still see some rain around, and by the afternoon, it is slightly drier, but still showers and thick cloud around, but it is just a little blip between weather systems. As you can see, into Tuesday evening and Wednesday, another weather front approaches from the south, giving considerable rain for many areas, and just spiraling around into Wednesday and Thursday, maybe even some snow further northwards. We have some colder air wrapped in within it, so we are seeing a Greenland block, so cold air isn't too far away, so there is the risk of that. But you can just see the general theme is for very unsettled conditions. If we look at the mean sea level pressure, getting down towards that pretty low territory, nothing too ridiculous, but pretty low, and you see the wind gusts. Nothing too bad in the short range, but still seeing gusts of 30 to 50 miles per hour. And because of that Greenland block, you can see cold air isn't too far away. But as we see from the longer range charts, it's unlikely to penetrate much further southwards than Scotland or the far north of England. We've got pretty strong agreement on that. If we hadn't got that agreement, we would be talking about maybe more widespread risk of colder conditions and maybe some winteriness. But from what the looks of the latest runs, they're all in agreement that the cold air really isn't going to sink much further southwards than Scotland and than far north of England. If you look at the max temperatures, you can see through this afternoon temperatures rising to around the low teens, but we've seen in reality it's actually gone up to 15 or 16 degrees. So again, UKV underdoing it slightly, and that's all due to the fact that we're seeing some very strong sunshine out there, perhaps a little bit more sunshine than initially forecasted. As we head into tomorrow, another chilly night, but that's really because we have clear skies, and you can see into tomorrow afternoon once again temperatures around the 13 or 14 degree mark. What we do avoid the cloud, but if we do see that cloud and rain linger across the East Midlands and East Anglia, it could hold those temperatures down more towards the 8 to 10 degree mark. So it's going to be really touch and go whether tomorrow is a nice day. Very, very regional indeed. Into Monday, it's of course looking like a bit of a write-off as we head into the afternoon. Look at that, widely temperatures not getting much above 6 to 10 degrees, so a much colder, cooler feel out there. And then into Tuesday, much cooler further northwards, but the further south as you go, temperatures do rise. But of course, this is, as I said, another sort of blip of a drier day. And then you can see into Wednesday, much colder across Scotland, not getting much above the low single digits there, maybe 13 or 14 in the far south, but huge temperature contrast as all that rain moves in. And the same will be said about Thursday. So staying really quite cold further northwards, further southwards, a little bit milder, but of course we're going to see the bulk of the rain further southwards with these southerly tracking jet stream and big low pressure systems pushing in. Now if you look at the latest GFS, you can see this well reflected. You can see at the moment we actually are under lower pressure, but because the isobars are spread out and we have got that pressure rising, it has allowed for a drier couple of days. But we are going to see low pressure reinvigorate itself and move back in for the early part of next week, with small little lows developing on the southerly tracking jet stream, giving very unsettled conditions, maybe even stormy conditions. You can see those isobars getting pretty tightly packed there within the next 7 to 10 days. Beyond that, it remains very unsettled. You can see the Greenland block disappears, and that will mean there's more of a chance of milder air moving in for all, but you can see even in the longer range still some cooler air masses trying to drift in from the north for the middle of the month. So for the first week or two of April, it doesn't like we're going to be seeing much in terms of a big pattern change. Yes, there could be a decent few days, but overall I must say it is looking like it's going to be very similar to March. Of course, temperatures are going to gradually rise because the sun is getting stronger, days are getting longer as we progress towards summer, but we're not going to see any big rise, any big heat wave or big drier spell in the foreseeable future. If you look at the latest GM, again, low pressure continuing to dominate into next week with that Greenland high, allowing cold air to drift in at times, but mostly it's going to be westerly winds, and low pressure continue to bash us off the Atlantic. Typical positive NAO there, with low pressure dominating towards Iceland and South Greenland, and the Azores high further southwards, and you just have flat west to southwesterly wind, and you can see the 300 HPA winds there just consolidating what we're saying with the very strong jet stream. It is slightly southerly tracked, and that's why we're seeing cold air drifting for Scotland, but the overall sort of pattern in terms of precipitation is going to be much different, apart from the fact that maybe rainfall is heavier further southwards than we would expect. If you look at the latest ECMWF, you'll be able to see over the coming days, again, low pressure continues to dominate, very similar to other runs. Low pressure spinning up over the top of us, and again, staying very unsettled towards day 10. So you can see all three runs are actually broadly very similar out towards day 10. Yes, orientating the lows, the jet stream and the exact intensity of lows slightly differently, but very strong agreement that it's going to be unsettled. Temperatures cooler further northwards, milder further southwards, potentially turning milder for all into the early days of April. As we've seen that Greenland high wane, we do see more of a west-southwesterly wind. Now, if we do finish up by having a look at the latest ensembles, you can see this from the latest GFS ensembles. The next 5 days generally around average, and then trending above average into the first sort of 5 to 10 days of April. But look at that, precipitation is exceptionally high. Longer term, towards the middle of the month, temperature do drop. Precipitation does drop a little bit, but not a significant amount to really say it's going to be a pattern change. Perhaps just slightly cooler air masses mixing in, meaning that precipitation is less intense with slightly drier air. So you can see a pretty consistent pattern here, not too much deviation from the average for the time of year in terms of temperatures, but with lots of precipitation. You see the 2 meter temperatures do have a little bit of a rise into early April, and I said that's just due to slightly milder upper air temperatures, but we're not really going to see the fruition of those upper air temperatures at the surface unless we see some drier days. You see some runs, see some drier days, maybe high teens, but majority maybe mid-teens at best. But under cloud and rain or even just showery days, it's not going to feel all too great. And if we do compare to the ECMWF just to finish, very similar. A bit more of a spike towards early April with those upper air temperatures, but brings it back down towards average. And here, again, precipitation is in very strong agreement with the GFS. So really interesting indeed that all the models today, and they've been fairly consistent over the past few days, are showing broadly the same thing, which shows you there is very strong consensus that we're going to continue to see a very westerly based pattern, very unsettled pattern, even stormy at times, with generally cooler conditions initially, especially further northwards, turning mild into early April, and those temperatures settling down again towards average as we head towards the middle of the month. Of course, there is still lots of scope for change. Things can reverse very quickly, but we would expect to be seeing some hints of that. And at the moment, we're not seeing hints of much else than this one narrative. So we'll have to see, but for the time being, a continuation of what we've seen through much of February and March. Hopefully, as I said, we see a pattern change. I definitely want to see something a little bit different so we can, of course, see something warmer and drier outside, and of course something different for us to look at in the videos as well. It has been very samey over the past week or two and the past few weeks in general. Hopefully we see some changes, but at the moment can't promise much. As I said, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.